Okay, on today's video, I'll be talking about my experiences using Windows 11 on a computer with unsupported hardware. Well, partially unsupported hardware, because this computer does have UEFI BIOS on it. So the only thing it lacks is TPM, which it doesn't have. And it's not one of the supported CPUs, which is 8th generation i3, i5, i7, or i9 Intel processor, or AMD Ryzen 2nd generation or higher. So this is the CPU I'm using on this computer is a i7 4790K, which you can see right here. This is a CPU for the computer. The motherboard that I'm using is a Z97 Pro motherboard, which doesn't have TPM 2.0 or any TPM, as a matter of fact. And again, it doesn't have to. It's not a supported CPU because it is less than 8th generation Intel processor. The GPU is a GeForce RTX 3060, and I could use that because I have a UEFI BIOS on this computer. But when I installed Windows, I didn't install it with UEFI. What I had to do was I had to convert from MBR to GPT, which is UEFI partition, GPT partition, which is a newer partition that uses UEFI. And if you want to know how to do that, I have that in the video descriptions and also in the video cards on the top right corner, or you can go to the end screen and see that as well. Yes, so I have a M.2 NVMe SSD in it. It's Western Digital Blue 500 M.2 NVMe, which is capable of 2.4 gigabytes per second, but I can only get about 900 to 1,000 gigabytes because of my motherboard's limitations. So the CPU, as you can see, is i7 4790K. It does have a UEFI. I'm using the latest graphics card, which is the 2nd generation RTX. And what I think about this operating system, it is Windows 11 Pro that I have on here. I upgraded from Windows 10 Pro to Windows 11 Pro, and so far so good. I didn't have any crashes or anything. I was able to test games on this, and it ran them all fine. There was no crashing or any issues like that. And I didn't see any noticeable difference in performance compared to using Windows 10 Pro with this computer. So, and I didn't have any problems getting updates either. I was able to get all the updates I needed. Go here. Okay, here's an update right now. I'm gonna download it and install it. I always try to get the latest updates. I was able to get the updates. I guess I could use a lot of the updates because it does have a UEFI BIOS, which is good. It's pretty much like Windows 11 is pretty much like Windows 11, except this thing was over here for Windows 10. And not much of a difference. Everything is in pretty much the same place. If you want to uninstall programs, you go here, just like you did with Windows 10 or Windows 7, Windows 8, I guess even Windows XP and Windows 2000, Windows 98, 95, same place. It's funny how they haven't changed this over the years. And I didn't have any issues running any of the stuff on my computer, like using the DVR, which I'm using right now. I was able to use Elgato Game Capture HD, which I'm using right now to record this video. I didn't have any problems with that not working on this machine. The scanner worked, which I have a scanner, which is the Canon LIDE 110 on this machine, and that didn't have any problems. Everything worked like it should be. It should have worked. And before I had this graphics card, I had a GeForce GTX 970, which didn't have any problems running. I was able to run that on Windows 11 just fine. And pretty much there isn't really much of a difference. The filing system is the same. Windows Explorer isn't any different than how it was previously. It's not much of a difference, to tell you quite frankly. It just looks a little bit different in that the task manager has everything centered now, right? The task bar, before it was, everything was from left to right. And also the temperature thing, you can't get it unless you sign in with your Microsoft account. That's the only difference about it. I like this operating system. I think it's pretty good. And I upgraded another computer which didn't have UEFI or TPM 2.0, which was a Dell XPS 9000. That's a very old machine. It was released in 2011, and that doesn't have any modern features, and definitely is an outdated processor as well. It used the first generation i3, i5, and i7 Intel processors, and it's a pretty outdated machine, but it does work for Windows 11, and I did make a video about that. Didn't have any problem with it. The only problem that I had with it was installed when I was upgrading from Windows 10 to Windows 11. It took a very long time because it only had a mechanical hard drive, unlike this computer, which has a M.2 NVMe in it, which speeds it up, speeded up Windows upgrading greatly. I didn't have any problem with the video editor software. Didn't have any problem with VS Express 2013 or running anything on here. Running Steam, running web browsers of various types, no problems. And yeah, because there was a real concern that you couldn't upgrade to Windows 11 if you didn't have the supported hardware, but there was a way around it. And I guess I could use this computer beyond 2025. It's still pretty fast. It still has a pretty fast CPU in it. The GPU that I put in is pretty modern, and I plan to use it beyond 2025. I do have a more modern computer, which I recently bought, which is the i7 10700KF, but I'm using that in another room in my house, so I'm still using this computer to do like work and video editing and everything. And yeah, I plan to use it longer. And if you are interested in upgrading to Windows 11 from Windows 10, I guess you could try it, but I did run into one problem when I was trying to use my Fujitsu ScanSnap S1300 scanner, paper scanner. I wasn't able to use the old software for it. For some reason it didn't work, so I had to download the new version, the new driver for that, and it worked fine after that. But there's always a problem. There's always problems you will run into when you try to upgrade to a new operating system. In the past, when it was upgrading from Windows 95 to 98, there wasn't really that many um, differences, or issues. Since there weren't that many differences, there weren't many issues. But when I upgraded from Windows 98 to Windows XP, I had some stuff like printers and scanners that would not work on Windows XP because the manufacturer didn't make drivers for Windows XP, so I couldn't use those hardware. I had to just on eBay, or I don't think they had Craigslist back then, or at least I wasn't using it. I was using Recycler to sell stuff, and also on the classified ads on the newspaper. Yeah, so basically you would run into those problems, or if you were transitioning to Windows XP to Windows 7, some things wouldn't work. Some of the programs wouldn't work. Some of the drivers would not be supported. Sometimes if you buy from a big manufacturer like HP or whatever, they would usually support their hardware better, or Canon or something. If you buy your printer, scanner, or whatever from a large manufacturer, they will support it beyond the life of the hardware. So they're not selling the hardware anymore, but they would still support the drivers. But if you buy from like small manufacturers, you don't know, they may not support this stuff as well. So they may not create drivers. But I don't think there was a big leap from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Pretty much most of the programs, if they worked on Windows 10, should work on Windows 11. The drivers should work. From Windows 8 to Windows 10, it wasn't that much of a big leap, because a lot of stuff that worked on Windows 8 or Windows 8.1 would also work on Windows 10 from what I experienced. But I didn't really use Windows 8. I upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 10. I did have couple of computers that had Windows 8 on it, and I easily upgraded those to Windows 10, and I didn't have any issues with that. So I guess there really isn't that much of a difference. So if you want Windows 11, there are some precautions for it. So I'm just giving you a warning that some of the programs that you're using might not work. Some of the stuff that you're using, like printers, scanners, or whatever, it might not work. It can happen, but for me, even the printer works, which is an old HP LaserJet P2035N 35N printer, and this is a pretty old printer, and it still works on this computer, which is amazing. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts, please leave it in the comment section, and thanks for watching my Ace 1000 KS 19